Well, since I've talked about creating just about everything else with Insight Maker, I guess uh, this video adds dialogue maps to the list of different kinds of drawings. Dialogue is a process amongst a group of individuals that creates a free space for something new to happen. I was first introduced to dialogue in Sengi's 1990 The Fifth Discipline, where he built upon the work of David Bohm. And Bohm said that it was important not to confuse dialogue with discussion, lecture, discourse, or debate. Each of those things being an exchange where two or more people were attempting to reach a goal or a conclusion. Dialogue being an exchange amongst people, create, as I said, a free space in the hopes of something new to happen. It's intended to be a generative environment, and the intent is that if one practices the four principles of dialogue according to Bohm, which are to suspend decisions, suspend judgment, transparency, and build on the ideas of others, it creates a generative exchange where new things just seem to happen. So people don't debate or defend their positions. People are continually seeking to understand perspectives of each other, and from that endeavor to understand, new things just seem to surface. Developing a dialogue map is in fact documenting the exchange that happens within a dialogue, and it's essentially constructed in a structured way where you begin with either an issue or a question, not that the goal is to answer it, but it's something to provide some focus to begin with, and in response to that there is a position or some or some response to that issue, and then in response to that position you can have supportive arguments or opposing arguments. Now, as I said, the intent is not to reach a goal or a conclusion, but to seek understanding. So people offer perspectives so that others can then think about them. So one actually documents a dialogue with only four components. And the nice thing was that we actually built the icons for these four components right into Insight Maker, so that if I create a picture and go to image, you notice that here are the supportive and opposing arguments, the question, and the position or idea are all icons that you can in fact select, so you don't have to go looking for the icons, and then you simply go ahead and attach whatever the piece of information is that's associated with the label. And you can also, this is a further you can add comments to the individual items so that there's further elaboration on the label itself. So it's simply not, or if it's communicated later to someone else, they have more than just the label associated with the entity to go on. There are actually comments. And the thing about actually documenting a dialogue session is that it actually slows down the exchange, giving people more time to think about the different perspectives that are offered by different people. And if you can document it in a way so that people can in fact view it as the dialogue is continuing, then there's there's that record of things that have transpired to this point that they can look at and build upon. So and all of the legal connections that are possible within this structured environment are from a question. You can have an idea or a question. An idea can have supportive or negative arguments or another question, and these supportive or opposing arguments can also have questions. So that's the extent of the structuring that is intended to be appropriate within this context. And from just those elements, one can build rather elaborate documents of the exchange that happens amongst people. This is taken out of this article by who? Let me see. Do I remember? Jeff Conklin has written a book about dialogue mapping, and this is an example from his book. It was simply an agenda for a staff meeting, a set of ideas that were topics on the agenda for the group to investigate, to offer different perspectives on, and they captured those perspectives during the meeting. And here's a segment of it that was actually placed in a folder because it was additional detail, so they could collapse it and expand it. In addition to this, there are a number of software packages available that one can document a dialogue with. There's one that we've used in the Systems Thinking World group to quite an extent called Debate Graph. Of course, Debate Graph is sort of an inappropriate label for a piece of software used to do dialogue mapping, but it is what it is. This is the same structure, and this page is on the wiki, and the link will be there in the focus page when this is done. But it simply allows you to build, and there's a couple of videos on this page, but what it does is it allows you to build the dialogue map as you go, and we have built a number of them in an asynchronous fashion where the people contributing to the dialogue map were in fact not actually in the meeting. This is a stupid little example I put together about vacation planning, and so I was thinking about a vacation and what restrictions exist for this vacation, and I said, well, gas is expensive, but then I supported that, saying I don't want to have to cut costs in other areas, and I said, and then we only vacation once a year. So, and the vacation must be 10 days or less. Flying these days is a hassle, so the things to consider. What was this? Which vacations we enjoyed in the past? Well, several Las Vegas vacations were delightful. The thought was maybe we've been there too much, but there are new casinos we haven't seen. My daughter's wedding in St. Lucia was marvelous. The adults only environment was great, but getting there was a hassle. So that and you simply build off of these in the environment, and there's lots of help. So I just wanted you to know that there was, yes, you can build dialogue maps in Insight Maker, but there are other environments available. And in Conklin's book, he will talk about another environment. So in the wiki focus page, and there's a link to that on this video, there are a couple of articles. There's a review of Conklin's book, which is where I picked a number of these sample diagrams out of, and then there's a dialogue mapping experience, which is an article written by Conklin himself, and there's a couple of books on the market, and the links to those will be in the focus page also. So just the idea is that if you're going to carry on an exchange, and the whole idea is to suspend decisions and judgment and provide the maximum amount of transparency so that you can build on the ideas of each other, to create a generative environment in the hopes of actually surfacing things that were never planned on to begin with. It can in fact be an environment that from which very innovative ideas arise, and the idea of documenting it is so that it slows down the exchange to give people more time to actually contemplate the various pieces. And because there can be a lot of pieces, you sort of lose track of which ones or what has transpired, especially if you're working in an asynchronous distributed environment. It allows people to look at what has been surfaced to this point so that they can in fact build on it. So I hope this has been helpful, and we'll see you in the next video.